Welcome to It's Not You, It's Grief, a safe space to have candid conversations surrounding the many faces of grief. How do you handle the process while moving forward and ultimately getting back to living in the moment? Come on this journey as we navigate grief through the art of storytelling. And now for your host, Ahira Smith.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 15. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are on episode 15 for my podcast here. It's Not You, It's Grief. Thank you so much for joining me again for this. I don't even know if I can put into words, just this movement. Let's just say it's a movement. My name is Ahira Smith. I am the grief mending coach with a grief coaching business called From Grief to Life. I thank you all for joining me. And this week I have another special guest with me. This woman, let me be clear. She's more of a sister. If anything, we go way back. You know, we go back almost 30 years. And the fact that we look like this at the age of 34, it's just amazing because, who would have thought that us being 2 and 5, we would look this great 30 years later, so but nevertheless, though, this is my sister friend from college. We sung in the concert choir at the Kentucky State University until she graduated first, and then I followed in her footsteps. But I'd like you all to know this woman is a native of Frankfort, Kentucky. She was raised in Kentucky, and she happened to receive her bachelor's degree from the Kentucky State University, majored in music education. And she also received 2 masters, one from Northern Illinois University with music, master's in music with a concentration in education. And she also received another master's degree from Cambridge College for instructional technology. And so shortly after she completed her degree at Kentucky State University, she transported herself to Atlanta, Georgia. I'm sorry, some people say Georgia, but Atlanta, Georgia. And from there, she started her career as a world-renowned songstress in the multiple genres from jazz to R&B to soul, pop, and gospel. And she has been such an inspiration to a lot of people, especially to the little kids that she worked with when she wasn't necessarily traveling and singing in the metropolitan Atlanta public school system, where she was a teacher there for a number of years, working in K through 12. And she also was fortunate to be a professor at the Metro Atlanta State University, I believe.
Atlanta Metropolitan College.
Okay, Atlanta Metropolitan College, excuse me, where she was a professor there, as well as her dearly beloved alma mater of the Kentucky State University. So she's definitely been able to give back to the community as far as education is concerned. He also happens to be a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated since 1996, spring 1996. That's very important. And when she wasn't traveling or teaching, she was definitely around to spend time with her loved ones, particularly her aunt, her brother, and her father, and her mom. And so now I would like to introduce you all to my special guest, my sister, my comrade, a supporter, CC Love. I mean, there's so many things, but she's just a phenomenal woman. And let me present Miss Kemba Cofield. Hey, Kemba.
Hello there. How are you?
I'm doing well, my sister. How are you?
I am doing great. It's
awesome.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Good to see you. It's been too long, so we're gonna make sure we see each other more often. So thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. And I know that this topic that I'm dealing with, or this area as far as grief is concerned, it impacts people differently, and folks are on this journey just by really trial and error in terms of navigating the waters of grief and loss. And so what I would really love for you to do is kind of share your experience in that area, especially that of you being a caretaker. A lot of people don't really know the wear and tear that caretakers have to provide for their loved ones or people who they work with, and how much it impacts them on a personal level, or even those who are doing it professionally. So if you would be kind, I'll give you the floor and just kind of talk about how did you make that transition from being in the music world, to where you started becoming a caretaker for your loved ones.
I want to just give a preface and start with when I felt like I needed to do something for those I love. I was about 24, 20, something like that. And then we went to visit my great aunt. She and her husband didn't have any children. And at a certain point, their home was beginning to become condemned. So the city sent them to the nursing facility together. And her husband passed away. We missed that. But when we got down, she was sitting, and she didn't know us very well. And she was sitting at a table, and it was in a room where there were four tables. One had a bunch of people sitting at it, and one had just her. And so she was sitting at that table, and her food was cold, and she just kind of was hunched over looking at it and just didn't say anything, while all the other people were sitting at a table together, and they were fellowshipping and talking, and the nurse was there. So when my dad and my mom walked in, we fed her food. It was cold, so I had to do some maneuvering to get it to work. And we just, saw how she was being treated. And I drove back down there about 2 weeks later to have a conversation with the head mistress of that facility, to let her know I don't appreciate her sitting there like that. So I need you to explain to me why that's what I walked in and saw. And so, I put on my best duds and had my best articulation. And, but at that moment, I knew then that whatever I was going to do in my life, I was going to let facilities control what happens to those that I love. So with that stated, the Atlanta area began to kind of dry up a little bit when it came to gigs. They were wanting you to play for pennies, and I was spending more to go to the gig than I was to just stay at home. To be honest, I had to spend most of my gig money just to get to the gig, but so it became a little bit less of a passion at that point for a while. And then my brother had a stroke, and it was a hemorrhagic stroke. And so at 54, you're not expecting somebody to be in a place where it's life or death. And of course, everybody kept saying he's never going to get better. And I'm like, all right, well, he's 54. So can we at least see? Let's give him a little. He just went through a rough time. Can we give him a little time? We just think you should just let him die peacefully. Huh? So but that's not going to happen. Keep that water in the system. All right. We're going to feed him. All right. And you figure that out on your own. So we ended up transferring him to a hospital that was less intensive, and he began to get better. His emotions would show a lot. He would not show his emotions to anybody but myself and his girlfriend, fiance. It was so strange. My mom, hey, he wouldn't say anything. He wouldn't give a look. He wouldn't look over at her, nothing. But if I come in there, if I say, Bill, he'll, flang his hand up or roll his eyes or whatever if I made him mad, which was fantastic. And it's the little sister, and I did it all. So so then I began to force him to work out, because one thing my brother was a bodybuilder at a period of time in his life. And I knew that if he wouldn't connect with me on reading the Bible. He wouldn't connect to me with just talking about what's going on in the world, but he was going to connect to working out. So I began to get him to do his leg lifts and his arms. One arm was completely, had no movement, but over time, the left arm began to move quite well. I'm sorry, the right arm began to move quite well, almost on task without any assistance at all. And the left arm was still pretty, it might have had the most damage, I don't know, with the nerve endings or whatever. Both legs, he was functioning really well. No paralysis in his face. Everything was good. I mean, it was like he was getting better. And so then it was just crazy. There came a point in time where he looked like he was losing so much weight. And I don't know what these people at these hospitals do, but, you have to stay on it. If you put your family member in a nursing facility, then you make sure that you come up with some way that you are able to see and communicate. Hire somebody to go over there and sit with them, a caregiver. You can get some that are like $10, $11 an hour that will go to the facility and sit with your parent to make sure that whatever those people are doing in there, they're doing it correctly, because he was neglected. And that's ultimately was his demise. The day that he passed away, I just so happened to get there late. I was at an alumni meeting, and when I walked in, he was looking at me like, and I was like, hey, I was at the alumni meeting. I'm sorry. So then I started looking around, and I can tell they haven't brushed his teeth. They haven't, done the things that they need to do to care for him that day at all. And when I start, being me, he had too much saliva in his system, and they didn't they didn't suction it right, and they start turning him and cleaning him up, and he choked. That's what I saw, but they probably would say something different. It's all good. My father had Parkinson's disease, and we knew for many years. So when he started walking with a cane, that was when his balance was beginning to get. And he actually fought it, I think, about 12 years, to be honest. But something happened. I believe he fell, and I flew up that next weekend, and he was talking and fine, and we took him to the local hospital. I told Mom I wanted to move him out of there because, no offense, but traditionally, a lot of people that look like me don't make it up out that camp. He said, oh, he'll be all right. I'll go over there and we'll be, just keep it going and he'll be fine. And that was on Sunday, I flew back. By Tuesday, she said, I want him out of there. Tuesday. So I get on the horn and start calling people. And our previous governor from back in the 60s, his son, his grandson got him at UK. And he was gone. But by that time, he was different. And he never changed from that different. Whatever happened to him there, he never was the way he was when I came up and saw him on that weekend. Hence. So from there, he began a transition of slowly getting worse. And so I took a leave of absence, got up there, and then I knew that I wasn't going to be able to leave. So they had made some kind of a pact, my mom and dad. I didn't know anything about this part, that they would not put one another into a nursing facility. Now, understand, I don't know anything about this. But when I saw my great auntie, I knew then that I was not going to let anyone else I love suffer like that. Because had we not come, and I asked the nurse, had we not come, would she have gotten food? She just was sitting there. And I don't know, she was very quiet. She was very, had a flavorful personality when I was young. And, I think she liked kids because she, tended to ask me questions. A lot of people don't talk to the kids, they talk to the person that they know, but she spoke to me. And that made me feel closer to her, So anyway, Daddy passed in my arms. Well, we started doing CPR. We called the ambulance that came and got him to the hospital. Ultimately, that same hospital where he was sick, and he ultimately passed. So, and it was different, and everything's been different since. So the music aspect, I think when my brother Bill got sick, I think it began to dry up in me. And I mentioned, I'm not going out for, to pay all the money to go out just to do a song, just to do a gig, and I don't have any money when I come back. So I think that probably is where the passion went during that time period. It became the love of it began to minimize because I'm focused on Billy. So I didn't have that same passion. I didn't have that same love like I had before. And I think that it stayed that way for a while. And recently, I've been getting my transition to go back to Atlanta. And the sweetness of it again. When you're a musician, it's a different, when you're artistic, I should say, any artist, if you like to paint or you're just internally artistic, whatever. There is something about when it's right that makes that passion of it just come back so quickly. You know what I mean? Everything that you had put into it before, or everything that caused you to have issues with it before goes away. It's kind of like a relationship, in a sense. So it's been quite a total different experience right now, and recently with this as before when Bill was sick, and then of course Daddy. So I think I can stop there. But if I didn't answer, I hope I answered your question. Sometimes I get in that flow of it and it'll drift off sometimes. So I apologize.
First of all, no apology is even necessary. I just wanted you to share yourself and your family with me and my audience in regards to the various encounters of grief and loss. Because, it was more than just the fact that you were a caretaker for your great aunt and your brother and your dad. This was your great aunt. You were the great niece. This is not just your brother. You were the sister. And this isn't just your dad. You were the daughter. So there are multiple lenses that for you, you had to work through. Because even though you were very much hands-on and taking care of these three significant people in your life, there wasn't a moment of a break, if I could even say that, because of the fact it seemed like it was building. It was like a cumulative type of grief where it was like great aunt, brother, dad. And it wasn't even so much at the time grief in terms of a death of happening, because it wasn't that as of yet. It was just watching their quality of their life slowly diminishing. And so, that's heavy. That's heavy. And we need to acknowledge that type of grief that you have encountered in multiple ways. One of the things about caretakers or those who work in situations like that, whether it's nurses or doctors, there's a term that we like to use in our community called anticipatory grief, which is you're waiting for the inevitable. And that in itself could be, it's a lot, because you are taking care of somebody who had more yesterdays than tomorrow. So you had to still work through that. And my question to you is that, was there any time when you were with your aunt, your brother, or your dad, did you feel that was happening to you at any time?
Well, with my great aunt, no. Well, let me just say this. There came a point in time where the doctor said that she was going to continue to get, then this is a different aunt than the one that I'm talking, that you're referring to. She was going to get pneumonia every time, getting asphyxiated every time she would eat. So they were going to have me to put a tube in her. And I told all of her nieces and nephews, because I'm a great niece, that that's what they said. And so, do you want them to do surgery? Because they said that 90-year-olds, 91-year-olds, they typically didn't do. And none of them said yes. And I have a picture on my Facebook page where both of us are looking really strange. We've got these big cheesy smiles on our faces. But if you look into this picture, you'll see that we had both been crying because I had just told her. And I had to get permission. They said that we couldn't get permission to her because she was 90. So we had that. That was the moment that I knew that she was never going to get better. You understand what I'm saying? That we both recognized that at that point there was going to be this was going to be the downfall of her life. Where my brother was concerned, I'm gonna be frank with you, whatever that is, anticipatory grief, I ain't really have it. If it came to me, I was like, no, he's 54, I'm praying. So I was like, we got this, I was overly, we got this, Bill, you can do this, and look, you ain't gonna give up, and so I was not close to him at all. So let me just say that the sacrifice for my brother was there was a multiple things going on in there. Like sometimes I would have to go for the very beginning, I had to go to the chapel before I went up in there, because I'm one of them genuine people. I don't really like you. I don't really like you. I'm sorry, family. Oh, well. And I had to go to the chapel to ask the Lord to remove that bitterness or that unforgiveness that I had in my spirit before I went up there, so I could be, you can't just walk up in there and be like, and talk to somebody with disdain, how they gonna help them get better. So that was a difficult time period, but I didn't have it. It came, but I didn't want it to come, so I fought that one. With Daddy and watching it progressively get worse, it was like a constant. Remember the Bugs Bunny? And you remember when Bugs Bunny would have an angel on the right and the demon on the left? They would both be talking. That's kind of how that one was, and it just stayed there. And I would try to fight it off, but then he, failed the eating test, or I try to fight it off, or he'd almost fall when they came to help him with the physical therapy. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I wasn't as strong to fight it off then. So I didn't like that anticipatory grief. I am a Christian, and I believe that the Lord still heals. I have seen people healed. I've seen a lady's leg grow, and she got up and ran around that church, and I saw it, and I know that I saw what I saw because I was all up in the middle of it like this. So I know I saw it. And I've seen other people heal, and I've read testimonies and seen testimonies. So, but you're grieving the entire time because you're seeing that it's getting worse, and you can't do the things to pamper them anymore. I can't give them some collard greens when Mama ain't watching. He can't eat okra no more. It's too slimy to get caught up in his,
Yeah. Got it.
It's just those things. You understand what I'm saying?
I do. I definitely do. you know, did you feel a sense that you were losing a part of yourself um, while you were being a caretaker for your loved ones? I
No,
mean, what other losses do you feel you encountered?
I didn't
Um,
feel that way at all. I
okay.
felt like, uh, um, I don't know if it's an obligation. My parents were really good to me.
Mhm.
And to be frank with you, I recognize when people are good to me. Okay. I have a very strong personality, and it intimidates people oftentimes. You know, even I can walk in a room, I don't have to say nothing. And all of a sudden there's some kind of a internal struggle somebody else is going through that I'm not.
Mhm.
So, and it's not because I'm so pretty or any of that kind of stuff. I'm not trying to boast. It's just the way it is. And it's happened to me ever since I was a child.
Mhm.
So this automatic, I can't stand her, you know, and I didn't even do anything to him. So it just was a difference. I did not feel that until he died.
And you mean when you say he, you mean your dad?
Yeah,
Did you
yeah.
feel that with your brother or your aunt, great aunt, or not as much?
With my brother, I felt I was to blame
Wow.
because I was at the alumni association meeting,
Oh.
and I was there too long. So
Mm.
had I just left when I told him the night before that I'd be there by 2, but I was running my mouth. They had some good fried fish. And so I was, oh, and I think I had made some jewelry. I like to make jewelry. So I was selling some of the pieces at that. And she was like, oh,
Mm.
let me see that. Oh, that's cute. So,
Wow.
you know, I was at the end of that part, and it was a little bit more than longer than what I had anticipated. So, yeah, I felt like I was to blame. Um,
Do you still feel that way now, sis?
uh, not really.
Okay.
Not that same to blame.
Okay.
Realistically, I had him he's in a hospital. Not
Hmm.
like I was, not like um, he was out in the street or at the house by
Right.
himself for that period of
Right.
time. He
Right.
was in a hospital, and
Hmm.
you can tell somebody he has asthma and um, horrible allergies. You need to suction him every day,
Hmm.
4 times a day, like it says on this. Well, we do it 4 times. There's only so much you can tell somebody if you tell them and you fight for them and they don't do it.
Mm.
And on this particular day, they ain't do anything.
Wow.
So, yeah, but then again, it's still, I should have said it one more time. I think in the beginning times, I definitely felt that way. But and I did not grieve. I just cried.
Hmm.
I'm not a crier.
Hmm.
So, um, to cry, I cried a lot that year, 2015 and 16. I think I wept more than I probably have wept in all my entire life,
Mm.
just
Okay.
because of, I did battle those things, but I never got any counseling. I just felt like these emotions that I had that I didn't normally have, I wanted to just get them out.
Hmm.
So whatever was wrong, if I needed to cry, I just cried, and I cried wherever. I cried in the grocery store. I cried at the bank,
Hmm.
people would probably have thought I had some issues per se,
Hmm.
but to be honest with you, I felt so much better after I cried
Hmm.
each time that I just let it happen
Hmm.
until it didn't need to happen anymore. But with my dad, I literally felt like somebody took a part of me. Let me put it to you this way. Let's say you're getting ready to go to sleep and you pull the blanket up over your body, right? And it's cold in the room. Let's say it's the heat is on. It's winter time. So you pull the blanket up over your body. And somebody comes and snatches the blanket off. That's what I felt when I lost my daddy. And I actually, that strength that I received from his covering, may I say this, was not there for the first time in my life. And I didn't even know it existed. So to feel like something was removed from me that you don't know exists until it is taken away. That one was a powerful one. So, got some counseling. Shoot, I was angry. I went through everything that they say in counseling. You know, all these emotional things. I went through every last one of them in some capacity. But I'm glad that I went through that. It was probably the best thing I ever did, because I went back through the classes twice because I never did any counseling for Billy. And I felt like I needed to get everything. I wanted to get it all off of me. And I felt much better, you know. So, but Daddy's is, I just long to see him again sometimes, you know. We were really close. That was my roadie, you know what I'm saying? That was what I think. I followed my dad. You know, I think I took my relationship with him a lot more personal. So my auntie used to say, "You walk just like your daddy." How do I walk like a dude? Yeah. So, you know, I remember I had to go to the doctor when I was like 6 because I had tried to shave.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, I don't know why. But he, you know, he did the face stuff and he shaved his face. So I was like, I can do that. So I went up in there, put the face stuff on one day, and I tried to shave my face, right? And my face was tore up. Do you hear me? And it didn't have a rash on it, but it was burning. Because why? I put a razor to my face. I had washed him enough times. So he took me down to Dr. Holmes. But I didn't tell the truth. I didn't tell the truth.
What'd you tell him?
I just didn't say just burns. And they were looking at me like, you know, you did something. We are, you know, 70 and 40 years old. We know you did something. What did you do? I didn't do anything. Me. So
so let me just ask this quick question before you continue on. So did you put shaving cream on your face? You know daggone well they smelt that shaving cream on you. You do know that.
Oh, you know, I'm
just saying though.
The next day. He took me down there the next day. That's back when Dr. Holmes was in the black doctor in the neighborhood. He lived downtown, and that's when there was something that, you know, we called community. There was something that we called villages. Been having that conversation lately, and he was a very nice man. So he gave me some cream. I put it on my face. It did not work, and it took like a whole week for my face to stop burning. It's fantastic. I don't think I've ever told that story, so don't be. No, I just like my dad.
That aloe vera is real, but that's.
We had it. We had Makira.
You ain't saying but a word. I know, but now aloe vera's out there. We had A&D ointment when I grew up, so that's what I had. Not for cutting my face. I didn't do what she did, but when I had a breakout, A&D ointment. Go and get the A&D ointment. I didn't even know what the A and the D stood for. I just knew it was ointment.
Yeah,
I just knew it was ointment. So, yeah, thanks. That image is stuck in my head now. Way to go. I know what to get you for your birthday. So anyway,
we were very close. So that was a different loss.
Yeah.
You know? And I was not close. I want to make this clear. I was not close to my brother at all.
Okay.
But what I will say to you is my mama and daddy loved that man. And because my mama and daddy loved that man, I was going to do everything to make sure I was going to do everything I could for him because my mama and daddy loved that man.
Understood.
And so that's why the sacrifice was so important, because I did it for them.
Understood. So another thing that a lot of people have a tendency to experience when it comes to losing a loved one to their transition, death, it's a term that we call delayed grief. So it basically means that you suppress your grieving moment because of life events. Things came up, somebody else got sick, or something else took place where you weren't really able to grieve for that loss or that person. Did you feel that even though you didn't have that anticipatory grief with your brother, do you feel that there was a delayed grief with him afterwards because of things that was happening with your dad?
When you have to do a funeral and another funeral and then burial, and they're in and out of different states, it is you don't have the ability to grieve. You got to get everything organized. You got to call the pastors. You got to get money paid. You got to get money in so that you can get, you got to go up and take him a suit and take his clothes and make sure he looks good when you get there. And you got to sign papers. There's a lot of papers to sign. Go to courts and all kind of stuff. So I definitely know that when someone passes, there's not a lot of time for you to grieve. If you have the ability to do so, someone else has to take on the tasks that I just mentioned. So definitely experienced that. I would say I experienced it with both, with really all three of them. But Daddy the most, of course. But when I got back from that funeral and we got back in the house, and I went into the bedroom and I laid down, and the silence, there was a shift in my heart. And I had to recognize that nothing in my life would be the same again. So I didn't actually know how to process that grief. Sorry about the doorbell.
Sorry about the what?
Honestly didn't know how to process. And I don't think I definitely did eventually, but because I think it has to come to the forefront is, you kind of still in shock. It's like I've just buried my daddy, and when you're a single woman, I don't care if you have kids and you didn't, but when you're a single woman and you were treated like a princess, you may not have a whole lot of money, but your daddy used to play with you and he would hold your hand. And my daddy's hands were like this. You see how big my hand is? My daddy's hand was like this much longer. It's a big old hand wrapping around. Shoot. You won't have that. You won't ever have him. It was different.
Understood. Trust me, I know.
Yeah, and that's a selfish thing to think. You know what I'm saying? You want your daddy to suffer, Yeah. But that's a part of a woman that you hold on to for all your life. And I never met a man that I wanted to marry. So, I met one guy in college that I got I might have, but he had a whole baby with somebody else. No.
Well, that's a grief and loss in itself, but we won't talk about that right now.
Oh, but he didn't have a baby because it wasn't his.
Okay, but that's still another grief and loss in itself on that.
It's open. Oh. But that's probably the only person that I ever thought I probably could have. So with that being the case, you just hold on to that thought, and then all kinds of thoughts. It's crazy, as women, we always be having thoughts anyway. So, that emotional, and I don't even like being emotional. So it was a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I just worked through it. When I did those the therapy sessions, I have to tell you, one of the best decisions of my life is to do therapy. There are just segments of your life in grief that you have to deal with, and that are going to come.
Yes.
The anger, I think, was the main one. Okay. I don't even like you no more. I don't even like people. And don't let me know nothing about you doing nothing to my daddy when he died. Do not have me to know that you was talking about him, or you tried to keep him from getting that job, or you had the audacity to ask him why was he at that meeting with the with all of the big league people and why is that he on that picture with what's his name, Hunter Biden. That picture keeps coming up again. It started and come back around again. I don't know why, but those two Black people behind Hunter Biden are my daddy and mom. So why did he get to go? Just all kinds of nasty attitudes stuff in the community. Y'all think y'all need to be talking to somebody some way. I didn't have no love for you at that point. If you walked up to me, I was about to scowl. It was a different anger that I didn't have control over. I was angry with you. You said you were coming and you didn't come. Oh, my dad did this for you. How about I tried to get you to give this, but you couldn't even do that. But you wouldn't have had a job. It's that kind of anger. Now I don't have it now. I'm a dramatic person, but you're getting what I'm coming. You get what I'm saying?
Listen, you know exactly that I do, because trust, when it happened to me, baby, I was on a whole different stratosphere. And I was out of place, but I was present at the same time, because I don't forget what happened in those days when my dad was in the hospital, leading up to the point where he passed. And then afterwards, I remember it all like it just happened today. So, people who, even the stories that our fathers had probably shared with us about people who did this and that to them and how they were treated. Trust me, I remember all of that. And so now if I see them or try to engage in me, I'm like, hold up. You thought because what you did to my dad, which, that was between you and my dad, you don't think that wasn't going to reach my ears? And you don't think I wouldn't feel some kind of way about that? Because we are daddy's girls, so we're very protective of our fathers. And even though, if we have a good relationship with our moms, or, we have a tit for tat, we're very protective of our family. We don't tell them everything, but, we may say stuff in our family or behind closed doors, but anything outside of that, especially with our generation, we show a united front. So the one time or something that we see that's offsetting, or get our fathers upset, or anybody we truly love upset to the point, you're on notice. Like,
right.
I don't forget.
I don't have it now. I totally have been able to wash those feelings away. I mean, I can't. Here's the thing about my personality, and then also about being a Christian. When you got a strong-willed individual, and then the Lord pops up and, things happen, he will not let me continue to have bitter feelings for these people. But I'm going to tell you now, grief wasn't listening to the Lord at that time. Walk in the room, baby. Come up in the room.
Grief had that Kanye West moment. Like, look, Lord, I know you got this. I know, congratulations, but right now I just need to. Grief. Grief definitely has that Kanye West personality. It be showing up in all types of shapes and sizes.
I just say one thing. That's all I want you to. All I really wanted was for them to say one thing to me.
See,
because I promised on everything I was going to tell them exactly how I felt.
See, listen, I'll be transparent even with my own journey. Especially after after my mom passed. I'm like, all bets are off, done. Because you still, for us who was raised in the faith, honor thy mother, thy father. And we had our shortcomings and all, and we may not always agreed, but that was the way we were raised in, and you honor thy mother, thy father. And when I tell you, when my mother was laid to rest, all bets were off. I'm like, I'm done. Like, she good where she is. Right. I'm still here. So yeah. So I definitely understand it. And obviously your spiritual practice was such a huge influence on on this journey with you. So one question that I have is when the grief and loss became so unbearable for you, did it have any impact on your spiritual practice? And if so, how?
I think there were some moments, I'm not going to say extended periods of time, where you feel like, is there really a God? Does God really exist in this world? Does he care about me because I prayed? I believed, I knew that he was going to heal him, and he did not. Why, all of these things that whatever the Bible may say about thinking about the Lord. I wasn't trying to get no Job experience, but I think there's moments and pockets of experience where you feel that emptiness. But I think that would be with anything. And I think also it's a stage going through this therapy club. This is a Christian therapy group, and they're out of Ypsilanti, Michigan. And I'll get the information. I was supposed to get it for you anyway. But that way, if anybody wants to actually go, because it's on Tuesday nights at 6, I think, and or 7 p.m. And there's an hour, but it lasts like, I think, about 12 sessions. But you don't have to physically go anywhere. It's on Zoom, and very, very good experience. But I think that's all a part of it. I think that's something that and I mean, let me just put it this way: if Jesus, when he found out that his boy Lazarus had died, he even wept. That's a natural part of your spirit experience. And it's a natural part of all of all of the different things that we go through. So I think that those pockets, yes. But the Lord, I've seen too many things with the Lord on a personal side, so that no matter what, all of the bad things that I have experienced are not larger than the great things that I have experienced with him. So he just held me, I think. Had to hold me. And he sent a lot of people like the Hira and other friends who are real friends, not those ones that, he sent me some real friends that made sure that I wasn't in that room by myself too long, or it was going to be a text message. I felt that emptiness come over me for inevitably somebody would call me or send a text message, or, something happened and I needed to do something. And that saved a lot. That helped. Because when you come home from that funeral, nobody calling like they did when, they all called, ring, ring, ring. When you get before the funeral is over with, before the funeral happened, ask a bunch of daggone questions. They don't call the same when it's over. I told my cousin, my uncle passed out. Like, I called him when we got home because I knew that silence was coming. that silence is powerful.
Yeah. Especially when it's coming from people who you thought were close to you to where they would check up on you. I know for me, when I lost my mom, there was somebody I was seeing, dealing with, whatever you want to call it today. And this person probably reached out to me like initially when that night when my mom had passed, and he got word that she passed, and he probably called one time. And I never heard from him for like the duration of me of dealing with all of my mother's didn't call me the day of funeral, didn't check on me on where my headspace was at, nothing for like 2.5 weeks. And at that moment, I was like, noted. Okay. This isn't, and you talk about a shift. I was vibrating at such a low level that I was starting to make excuses about it. Like, I'm like, oh, well, everybody deals with death differently. Everybody can't handle that. Nah, F that. My mother. And you didn't call me. Send me a text. Something. And I'm like, noted. So, it was a lesson that I had to learn on top of the other lessons I was learning at that time. But I've told this to you multiple times and to a lot of people. You ever really want to know a person's true character, let a death occur. Let something tragic happen. You'll see people's true nature. And it's not always that of, the friends, and especially within the family. Baby, woo, like, oh, okay.
Come here and steal her clothes.
What's going to happen to the belongings? Right. What's going to I'm like, damn.
What I gonna do with that purse she got at the mall? We was at the mall together when she got the purse.
What are you going to do with the clothes? I'm like, damn, can I lay her to rest, please? What do you care about? What are you going to do with all those with all those pictures? Last time I checked, that person, he was still on life support. What the hell is it? What are we doing? So it's listen, it was.
I don't know about any other race of people on the planet, but Black folks can be a little extra special sometimes when it comes to this God.
I'm sorry, did you say extra crispy or extra special? Because they're both.
Extra special, let me just put it that way. God bless us.
Everyone. taking it from Tiny Tim, from Scrooge. God bless us, everyone.
That's facts. That is. But we have it though. Who gonna get the Cadillac? I was just wondering. He told me back in 1984 that he was gonna get
it. On that fishing trip where it was just me and him, like we were having a Godfather Part 2 moment, that he was going to give me his fishing rod, that silver one with the green stripes around it and the initials. He said he was going to give that to me. And I'm like,
yeah.
You do what? I'm sorry. Last time I saw you fish, you were picking up your fish fillet from McDonald's. What the hell are you talking about? But I digress, flashback moment. Okay, so
it's that much of a it's that intensive.
Yeah.
And if they don't let them have no money, don't let them have a little taste money. I think that's why Daddy made sure everybody thought he was poor, even though he took care of a lot of people. My dad was that one that everybody in the family, because he's the only one who went to college. And you know how you have that one that everybody, when they go to college, first ones to go to college in the family.
Everybody went to college. It's like we all went to college with that person.
That's correct. When they also, when anything goes wrong, that's the person you call.
Right.
That's the person that's gonna give the answer.
Right.
To fix it.
They're the first one that help you out.
You gotta fix it. They're the ones that are going, and he fixed it all for my family. At least on his side. He was that one that everybody called, and he was that one that fixed it. He fixed it every single time. He was a good guy, and that makes it even better. I think more than anything else, I didn't have good relationships. I haven't thus far had good relationships in dating, but I had a good daddy, and I've had some really great, I had some great male leadership in my life. My granddaddies, some good jokes. I love them. I had some great uncles. I had some cousins. They younger than me, but they real stand-up men. They love their children. They are very, very hands-on with their families and make sure that they take care of home and all. So I've had some really good. I know that they exist. That these men that are wonderful men, I know that they exist, and I'm thankful for every experience. And I have some friends too, so I'm thankful for every experience that I've had with them. But my daddy was my first.
Absolutely.
And with him being that first, that heartbeat in them.
That's a standard that is set high, because for most of us daddy's girls, that was our first love, was our dad. Let's just be clear. And it's unfortunate that we know a lot of people, especially a lot of women, young women, who don't know what that's like to have a rapport with their father to that extent, to where that I don't want to say safety net, but that covering, like you said earlier, that covering is, it's wrapped around you in a protective mode for a reason, and, when I started getting much older, my dad told me point blank period, I was always going to be daddy's little girl. I was always going to be daddy's girl. And I said, yeah, but I had to change the narrative in my mindset. I'm like, I may be daddy's girl, but trust, I'm my father's daughter. So I'm in a different mindset. So like we were talking about earlier, how very protective we are. I'm not all cutesy face per se. What, being a daddy's girl, I'm like, hey, pop, I'm good. But outside of that, I'm my father's daughter, because I'm an extension. You're an extension of our fathers. So, we took the lessons that they instilled in us and we carry it forward. But the moment somebody wants to step out of line, we'll still be on that line, but it's just like, which way you want us to go? Because I know for me, I match energy. So if you silent, I'm quiet. If you angry, I'm mad. So it's just a little bit deeper. So it's like what you want. However you come at me or my family, is you're going to receive it 5 times fold. And I'm okay with that. I am so okay with that, because Kemba, when we get to a certain age, we don't give a damn. We don't give a F. I'm like, no.
It was like what you would call a freedom.
Absolutely.
Put on the airs anymore. But I think that my mother is a Southern Belle kind of woman. So now, not with me, but she's a Southern Belle kind of woman with everybody. So she doesn't like, you need to just let that go. Don't talk with people. Don't be upset. You're gonna be all. Everything is fine. Just let it go. Yeah. And my personality is that I'm more of a firecracker kind of person. So I will tell you exactly how I feel. About your ankles. And I'm just saying, I have a different little level of personality than my mama does. So.
I got that. Listen, my mom was born in Louisville, Kentucky, but when her mama took her to New York, all bets were off. She's a straight New Yorker. She was like, I was like, so that's where I get it.
I honestly, I almost said that comes. You sure that's not from New York? What you were saying just now, right before you.
Oh no, that comes from New York. No. I mean, that's why you got okay. Again, like I said, when you when you get quiet, I'm going to be silent. There's a difference. I'm still quiet, but I'm a little, that's that New York extra edge. When you get angry, I get mad. The mad is that New York love. So, it's just a extra there. But, all in all, it's growing pains, it's lessons. I know we have both learned a lot through our journey, and we're continuing to do so because when we encounter grief of this magnitude, it's kind of one of those things where if we hear news of other people who might have been our classmates, our former professors, when they've passed, we handle it a little bit different, maybe a little bit much more better, stronger, because of the connection, or more importantly, because of what our experience is with losing our personal direct line of our parents. It's just a different feel. Not to say that their passing is not impactful, but it's a lot different.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, she ain't, because you off camera. Girl, see, this is what we do live, folks. We don't play. We authentic about that. This is real. This is this is what
I don't know who came. Hold on.
This is what we do. She's leaving me out here just by myself, like I'm talking. I'm like, yeah. So about that recipe on curry chicken.
Keep going.
But no, I'm just saying, there is no blueprint to this at all. I tell you guys this on a weekly basis. I've told you this, Kemba, there is no blueprint to grief. We learn as we go along on the journey, on the ride. And there's definitely be some trial and errors in terms of, in terms of processing things, or not able to decompress the stuff that or you might be dragging your feet in terms of moving forward or letting go. So it just definitely there's just so many different moving parts. There's so many different moving parts when it comes to this journey that we're on called life itself. Mm-hmm. So Kimba muted. Okay, you're muted. I can't even hear you, sweetie. There you go.
I had no choice. I had to go slam the door. I told you my mom would be like,
it's okay.
I'm doing something on
it's Zoom, okay. It's okay.
Like, hey, did you go take that trash out? And
it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. So I'm actually we're in a good place because like right now, first of all, before I get to my last question, I just want to say, sis, from me to you, thank you. I know this was not I know this wasn't easy, not by any means. I don't take it lightly. I do not I don't take it lightly at all. And I honor, because I knew your dad. Let me just say that. So, we went to school together. So her dad and my dad were very close. They were both men of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. So they knew each other. So he was a father figure to a lot of us. And even though my dad worked at the university too, at Kentucky State University, which I never understood. I'm like, out of all the 3,000 freaking colleges and universities, why'd you come back to K-State? But that's another story for another time. But, they had a relationship with each other that was of mutual respect. They might have had moments where they agreed to disagree, but they still had the mutual respect for one another. But, I get it. I get it. I see
any daddy's little girl's gonna get it.
Yeah, I get.
I don't care.
Yeah,
your daddy was very instrumental in the music department at Kentucky State while I was still there. But by the time he came, I was on that. Let me make sure I take these classes so I can get up out of this camp. So
that's another story.
I was sliding, do a little something. Makeup done, the trees. But that's
another story for another show. We could talk about the grief in higher ed later on.
Yeah.
But we got stories for years for that, not days, years. But
the no daddy's little girl doesn't understand this. My mama was a daddy's little girl.
Yeah.
My dad's dad and I were close.
Mm-hmm.
Especially by the time I got to be about, I don't know, baby, that's about in my college years, we got
Okay.
really close.
Okay.
So I was a daddy little girl all over the place. And
Right. Right.
I will jump over there and clinch on to that relationship that I need. I did. So the highlight is that I had the experience. And I think more now as each year gets to be more, it doesn't get more difficult. I still miss old dude, you know what I'm saying? That's my rodeo.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
mean, he was like this.
As,
When I would call back, because everybody don't get my jokes, right?
mm-hmm.
So everybody don't get me.
Mm-hmm.
There are some people, there's old people that you meet and they get you.
Right.
And when you meet them, they be like, hey, come on back to the house sometimes.
Right.
They
Absolutely.
get you.
Right.
But then there's the other ones that are like, I think she talks too much, and I think she's, there's those bittery kind of people. I don't go with them. I don't go back over to there. But them other kinds that say, hey, and they get you. That's my daddy. He was like
Absolutely. I mean, and look, that and that's comforting to know that we have people who connected with us on such a deeper level that they understood us without even have to say anything. And that speaks volumes. That just goes to show how much we were so connected with our fathers, or for anybody on there with their loved ones. Sometimes you don't have to say anything at all and people get you. I know shortly after your father had passed, I remember this one time you called me, or actually I called you. I was checking up on you, and you were like, Ahira, when your dad passed, I heard what you said and how you were feeling, and I was right there with you. But then you like, but sis, I didn't understand then, but I do now. And I'm like, yeah, it's a club membership that sucks. It does. It sucks. There's no,
I
there's.
know I remember that call, and I
Mhm.
remember that feeling. And that
Mhm.
was also at a time period when I felt it too. It was the heaviness. I told you she ain't gonna leave. Yes, ma'am. Hold on a minute. I'm about to be 12. Yes, ma'am.
Hi,
Okay.
Miss Cofield.
Can you tell him to give me a second? I am on a television show right now, and I just cannot let him go in there at this very moment. Okay. Just tell him I'll give me a second. All right. All right. Praise the Lord. Can you close that door, please? Thank you, Mama. Y'all know I'm about to move back to Atlanta because I'm old and I'm 12 right now.
Your secret's safe with me.
And I ran up the stairs. I cut everything else so I could run up the stairs and slam the door. And then like he's talking. I'm sorry.
No judgment. No, sis, listen, I told you we're gonna be organic and authentic about this. So it's all good. It's all good. But go ahead and finish finish what you were saying about that phone call, that call that we had.
That was in the silent time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I remember it vividly because when you called, and here's another thing: if somebody like me do all this yippity yapping, I ain't even know what to say to you when your daddy called. I mean, daddy passed.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I just knew I needed to be there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And when you got people that just know they need to be there, that's enough.
Yes.
If you don't know what to say, I didn't have any idea what this, and it wasn't even necessarily a need to say anything, just be around or try to be present. And that's what I did,
You did. You were very
know,
much present with me. I never forgot how present you were for both my parents. Trust, because that's heavy, man. And
A
again,
couple of my girlfriends, their parents passed. I had no idea they died. I didn't see it. I don't know if I was as addicted to Facebook as I am or have been in these last few years. I don't, it has been a very a good time for me to be able to have social media, I think, in a sense, because you can connect with people and I needed it in some way, and especially when you by yourself a lot, I needed that time. So
absolutely. It was an outlet. It was definitely an outlet. So again, want to finish up. I got one last question for you, sis. What
slip out that part when my mama got to open the door?
No, I'm gonna keep this el natural. Nope, we're gonna keep this natural. Don't worry about it. We just, it's all love. Don't worry. Nobody caught her on television. I was like, oh, there's a podcast, but I digress. But I understand she understood television more than podcasts.
No, so I'm Southern.
That too.
We on TV, mama.
We on TV, mama. Yeah, I get it. I mean, that's almost like, hello, radio. Somebody say they're on the radio. Hello, radio. Like they can see them as they say that. I'll be like, no, but okay, that's cool. So my last question is, what advice would you give to someone who had decided to take it upon themselves to be a caretaker, especially for their loved ones? What are like maybe 2 or 3 things that you learned in that role, especially when it comes to the anticipation of grief or even the delayed grief with the aftermath of what happens? What advice would you give? And actually, I do have another question after that, but that one takes first.
I think you kind of, with my daddy, he wasn't the same man. It took me about 5 months to new man, because the Parkinson's affect everything. And I think in some regards, certain medications probably gave him early onset dementia. So when you have to meet that person, that ain't your daddy no more. So I had to get to know this other man that I called daddy. And a lot of times he did a lot of stuff. He punched me in my face a couple times, and some of my haters might enjoy that. I know y'all.
Damn, that ain't cool. I mean, I wish somebody would say, "Oh, that's what she get." Look, the New York is still present. Come see me. Okay, because what we ain't going to do is be clapping when folks get punched in the face, especially when it comes in their own family. Damn that. I said it. I said it. I said what I said. Don't be clapping about stuff like that, because that's hard. Being a caretaker alone, of working with people who are dealing with dementia or Parkinson or Alzheimer's, that ain't nothing to laugh about or joke. I'm sorry. I want to make this clear with my audience. Don't nobody be cackling about that. She may feel like that, but she laughing it off. But I'm sure at the time that shiggity hurt.
Emotionally too.
Emotional and stunned her. So nope, we ain't doing that. Continue.
The actual disease causes people to very angry at nothing. They become aggressive and things like that. With beginning time, I was yelling right back at them. You say what you say, what you call me, But after a time period, I just got ahead of it. So what I started to do, I learned all kinds of methods. And I used music. I used things that I knew he liked. I made him, exercise. We got a ball, made him throw it to me, we do that every day. I make him things that I knew my dad liked to do. I put his attention and that anger toward things that I knew he liked to do, because it took the the attacks or the aggression away from what he was doing to me. And so therein lies, it was some hard times, definitely hard times. But I will say to you, I would not change being a caregiver to my great aunt, going to the hospital every single day, except for when my when the I took my parents to a family reunion,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to take a few days off because you get a little bit exhausted driving over there, sitting there, and it's not your element.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then taking care of daddy. I quit my job, moved back up to a city that doesn't like me, and I had to adapt um, in multiple ways. So you're here for 3 years with all them degrees you named off, and don't none of them matter because you can't get a job, if that made any sense. So, Lord, all in all, what I suggest is to note that they're not going to be the same. They may not be the same when you start. So, be learn the new person. Make sure that you take care of yourself. I gained a lot of weight, but try to take care of your physical body because you're going to need it. Because I think I honestly went into an exhausted phase afterwards as well, where because I wasn't getting up and I wasn't staying up with him till 4 o'clock in the morning no more, and things that I did all the time, I wasn't doing those things anymore. I was exhausted emotionally and physically, and it has taken. I still am exhausted, but I am definitely better. And then just take care of yourself because you're gonna need it. And I don't regret it though. I don't regret anything I did. I feel like I was able to give a little bit back to the daddy that gave me everything.
Understood.
It's a little bit.
Understood.
And it's a humbling experience too. You got to clean your mama. You got to wash your mama down. You know what I'm saying? It's a whole different experience as an adult. But I think, I just, like I said, I wouldn't have. It was worth it because they were worth it to me. They were worth everything, every sacrifice that I made. They were worth it, and I would do it again.
Man, oh wow.
But also there are these companies out there you can get, like I mentioned earlier, caregiving companies that can come in, and depending on your parent or your person's insurance, you can get them to come in for a low amount. Just try, see if they can. They helped us out a lot. I wasn't the morning person, but I was definitely that nighttime person, and so I would I stayed once I put them in the bed at 7, 8 o'clock, and I was up with them until 4. So, and then I'm exhausted.
Understood.
But yeah, there's people out there that do this kind of thing, and there's some people in the community that do it for less money or whatever. But those ones that are vetted and they have people that come and they can do all of that, it's worth it. So definitely try to seek some assistance if you can't do it on your own.
Absolutely.
You can't get it through insurance in some capacities.
Absolutely. Check with your churches, community organizations, all of that. Last and final question. What have you learned about yourself when it comes to grief and loss?
It's a part of life. It is a part of the life experience. I have to go through it. So it's better to learn from it now than to, when it comes again, not have a understanding of how to get through. Because I'm telling you now, once it starts to come, it ain't gonna stop. The older you get, it is still going to continue to get you. So what you have to do is to have a heart that has healed. You've got to heal your heart before it gets wounded again. But if you don't heal your heart and you let that next set of grief come in and wound you, it'll continue to be wounded. Now, I will tell you this. In this day and age, my heart has healed. But it doesn't mean I don't miss my daddy tremendously.
Absolutely.
But my heart, and that doesn't mean I won't cry. I'm just not a normal crier. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know why. I think there's something about my personality that just doesn't cry very much. But baby, with daddy was, I can still cry over him in a heartbeat. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But you become stronger going through those things, I definitely think seeking out some kind of therapy. And with the one I did, I don't know them people, so I didn't, we knew them on a Zoom, but I never really, they weren't around me, they weren't in my neighborhood,
right.
So they can't go back and tell somebody I said, whatever. Right. So that helped tremendous. It helped that I wasn't gonna hear it on Channel 2 News or some kind of crazy stuff. So I just like, I'll say this, you heal from that grief. You've got to heal and let yourself become a stronger person, which is why the elders of the village, they always had the wisdom, because with happiness and joy, with births comes. And they've been through a lot more than we have been through. So I think that if we can learn from those griefs that we have and note that you're going to have them, your whole being will become greater and you'll be a lot stronger on the other side of the pain.
Well said, my sister. Well said. Kemba, I love you. I love you, sis. I appreciate you so much for doing this. And like I said earlier in the conversation, I hear you, but more importantly, I see you. So I just want to say thank you so much for sharing a part of you, sharing your family with us in terms of the journey that you have been set upon through grief and moving closer, and you're continuing to move towards healing a little bit more each day and getting back to living in the present moment. I know you got some exciting things coming up in the next few weeks and next few months, and I'm so happy and I'm so proud of you because everybody handles it differently. As I said before, there's no blueprint to this. We just learn each moment, each breath, each minute, second, hour, day. So it builds up to where it starts to become a pattern that's consistent in terms of knowing that, there's light where we're heading, and our loved ones are watching us. They're still guiding us towards that light. And even though it might take a breath, or we need an oxygen mask because the air is so thick that it's hard to breathe, but they're still our guide. They're still like,
that is a part of it too.
That's a part of it too. They're still they're a spirit guide. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I could say a whole list of things, and every last one of them you say, I probably went through it at some point.
Yeah.
It's part of life.
Right. It's part of the contract that we signed when God decided to be like, sprinkle us. Okay, you gonna be Cofield's kid. You're gonna be Smith's kid. This is what we got. He's like, okay, right. We go, because he don't, the universe, the Lord don't do that dust. They be like, sprinkle.
I don't know about the universe, but I know about that Lord, and I tell him quite often, thank you for choosing them for me.
To me, it's one and the same, because because God is just enormous. I can't box him. He's like, he's all of it. He's all of
it. I understand it completely. I just had to make sure I put it.
No. She's like this way, like it's an airport. No. I'm referring, like she's, No, it's one to me. It's one of the same because he's just enormous. I no longer am able to put him in a box setting, not like I was supposed to, but because of the society and a lot of stuff, we try to box him in, and I can't box God in, and I certainly don't want to box with God. So that's why he is all that. But that's just me. But again, I am proud of you. I'm so proud of you on all you've done.
I'm proud of you too. You've had one more loss than I've had, and you made it through these years. And I know they've been hard for you. They've been rough for you because those are two losses, and it's who you gonna call. You can't call Ghostbusters. They don't have no number. You can't call your moms. Can't call your dad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's like
it is.
It's a level of that level of support that you have, and you really have to hold on to those memories. You got to hold on to the things that made your life special. I mean, I see things everywhere I go. Father's Day was, I was walking around all these things on signs. I started staying. I noticed that I just stayed in the house because Father's Day was here, and I ain't want to see it. Because I spoiled the mess out of him. So I ain't got no dude, so buy it. Let me get you lids. Oh, he would like this. This is going to look good on him. I like this.
Yeah.
And then what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna cut his hair, and
No, I listen. I totally get that.
I'm a whole barber with no credentials. I have a barbershop called the Cofield Barbershop. In whatever house I'm in, I got clippers. I know how to do that. Cut the hair.
So y'all hear that? So she cuts hair too. So
no, it's true. Not
she listen. This what we can do. We network. So this is other things that she does on the side too. She be cutting folks' hair. She be teaching the children. She be singing a song. She's that vocalist. She be a community activist and all about that NAACP for life. So she be doing a lot. But it's all intentional, and it's all in alignment of her assignment here on earth, and it's purpose. She has a purpose, and she's fulfilling it in her own unique way. And I wouldn't have it any other way for this woman to be in my life like she is. This is a true sister of all. She's quirky and unique like I am, and that's cool with me. So again, my sister, thank you so much. We'll definitely talk again. I'm working on some things later on down the road. We might do a whole session on grief and loss, the college years. I don't know. I'm working on it. Because I know we got stories for decades, but it's going to be a whole panel discussion. Just depending.
Like college years.
What's nothing like it.
That's the most emotional time you in, because you got your pluses and your negatives. Oh, yeah. You got meeting new people, or you have to learn how to deal with people hating you and loving you, and you get some of your lifelong friends. You find yourself. You grow into the woman or man that you're supposed to be. You got to graduate and figure out how to do this thing all over again. You got to. Ain't got no free lunch, the lunch room. You got to figure out how to cook. I mean, there's a whole lot of things.
Oh yeah,
that God provides for you to mature your behavior.
Absolutely. And I do feel like the lessons that we all learned in school, whether it took 4, 5, 6, and on, I ain't judging. Those are lessons that continue to play out and to really be conscientious of a lot of things that we might have taken for granted when we were younger, and just be very cognitive of all the things that will be forthcoming, but more importantly, just be consistent in our assignment. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me on episode 15. We have 15, folks. So thank you all for joining me and my sister friend here on this conversation. There will be more to come in the week, so we're switching it up a little bit more. But thank you for rocking with me. if anybody feels they're having some difficulty with their grief and loss, just like Kemba said, definitely seek out that counselor. Counseling can help. Definitely check out a therapist, or if you want to work with a grief coach, which is me, definitely send me a message, shoot me an email, and let's see what we can do. And if nothing else, I'll definitely make sure that you are connected with the right person to help you on where you are on your journey. So with that, peace, love, blessings. And just remember, there may be times when you may feel lonely on this road, but you're never alone, not by any means. So take care, everybody, and be well.
Thank you for listening, being intentional, and sharing this moment with us. We at It's Not You, It's Grief deeply understand the many facets of grieving, and we want to make sure we can be here for you. Again, thank you for listening, and tune in again wherever you subscribe to podcasts. We look forward to seeing you next time. Be well.